God says, you've been given a lot of money. Open this now or you won't receive it. God has already deposited the wealth into your life, but like any divine inheritance, it waits in the vault of consciousness, untouched by those who refuse to awaken. You think you are waiting for the money, but the truth is, the money is waiting for you, to believe, to assume, to accept. The moment you feel rich, even in the absence of visible evidence, you begin to attract the form that matches the state. God says you've been given a lot of money, but if you do not open the envelope within, your imagination, your faith, your inner vision, you will walk past the miracle designed to change your life. This is not about wishing. This is about knowing that what you dare to assume is true becomes fact. Open this now, not tomorrow, not later, because the blessing cannot deliver itself to the closed door of doubt. You are not poor, you are asleep. And God is waking you up to a fortune with your name on it. Recognize the invisible deposit. You are already wealthy in spirit. There is a moment in every chosen one's life when they are called to awaken, not to a new opportunity, but to the realization that the opportunity already exists, perfectly formed, waiting only to be seen. God does not give wealth in the form of coins or paper first. He gives it in spirit, in idea, in imagination, and those who are wise enough to receive spiritually will manifest it physically. You must understand this now. You've already been given a lot of money, not by the world, but by the Creator who dwells within you as your own I am. The problem is not that the money isn't there. The problem is that you've been taught to look for it outside yourself. God's ways are not man's ways. Man waits for the transfer of funds, for the increase in his bank account, for the promotion, for the lucky break. But God waits for the soul to believe, and belief is not a mental wish. It is a conscious assumption that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. You are already wealthy, not because of what you hold in your hands, but because of what you hold in your mind. The law of consciousness, the law that governs manifestation, declares that whatever you accept as true within will express itself without. This is not fantasy, this is divine technology. If you would sit in silence and begin to imagine yourself as the person who has already received the financial overflow, your world would begin to reconfigure itself to match your inner blueprint. God does not respond to pleading, he responds to alignment. To recognize the invisible deposit is to know that nothing is lacking. Lack is the greatest illusion the enemy has ever sold. You do not chase money when you know the truth, you magnetize it. You don't beg for increase, you become the increase. What you continually affirm within, the feeling, the vision, the gratitude, is what eventually dominates the outer picture. But the reason many believers never access their divine wealth is because they do not trust the invisible. They want the evidence before they feel the reality. They want the direct deposit before they feel gratitude. They want the phone call with the good news before they release praise. That's not faith, that's spiritual blindness. Faith is not hoping it will happen someday. Faith is knowing that it has happened in the realm that truly matters. When God said, "You've been given a lot of money," he wasn't teasing you with an empty promise. He was revealing what's already true in spirit. Heaven's economy is real, and it's fully accessible to those who walk by imagination, not by circumstance. Think about the parable of the talents. The master gave each servant something. Not one of them started with nothing, and yet it was only those who believed in the value of what they'd been given that multiplied it. You must ask yourself, what have I been given that I've ignored? Maybe it was a vision you had long ago. Maybe it was an idea that came to you in a moment of stillness. Maybe it was a dream that seemed too big to pursue. That was your spiritual deposit. But if you buried it in fear, in doubt, in delay, you buried your wealth. This is why the instruction is to open this now, not because God is going to bless you if you act, but because the blessing is already here and will pass you by if you don't. Destiny doesn't wait for indecision. Prosperity doesn't come to the double-minded. The windows of heaven are open, but only the awakened heart sees what's pouring through them. You cannot live richly on the outside while thinking poorly on the inside. If you keep telling yourself that it's too late, that you don't have enough, that you're stuck, those are the seeds you're planting in the fertile soil of consciousness, and every seed brings forth after its kind. But if you dare to say, "I am already supplied," I am already wealthy. I walk in divine abundance. Then the world will yield to that command. Money will come through unexpected channels. Opportunities will seek you out. People will suddenly remember your name. That is not luck. That is spiritual law in motion. God responds to your inner claim, not your outer complaint. He waits for you to say yes to what he's already said yes to in eternity. You're not asking him to give you wealth. He's asking you to receive what's been yours all along. Do not wait for the bank balance to rise before you feel joy. Joy is the spiritual magnet that draws increase. Do not wait for the job offer before you walk in confidence. Confidence is the aroma that attracts doors to open. Begin to act like someone who knows they've already received the deposit. Dress like it. Speak like it. Walk like it. Invest your energy, your ideas, and your words as someone who cannot lose, because in God's system you've already won. The money is not on the way. It's already present, waiting for your mind to claim it. You are not manifesting to become rich. You are remembering that you already are. The shift isn't in the world, it's in your awareness. And once awareness changes, everything changes. You see, God isn't holding anything back from you. The delay is never on his end. The vault is open, but it requires the password of belief. Many people pray without believing. They visualize without receiving. They affirm without transforming. But you must go beyond words and enter into feeling. What would it feel like to know that all your financial needs are handled, more than handled, overflown? What would it feel like to look around and see every bill paid, every debt canceled, every dream funded? That feeling is the signal to heaven. That feeling is the vibration that reshapes reality. The moment you feel it, you've received it, and don't let the outer conditions fool you. Many who appear to lack are rich in vision, and many who appear rich are bankrupt in spirit. God is not mocked by appearances. He gives to the secret man, the inner man, the one who has learned to walk by imagination, to live by assumption, to breathe by truth. You, chosen one, are being called now to stop waiting and start opening. Stop postponing and start receiving. Stop surviving and start creating. You have spiritual authority over the material world, but authority without awareness is useless. Know who you are, and you will never chase again. So the question is no longer, when will God bless me? The question is, when will I accept that he already has? Every dollar you need exists. Every resource you require is available. Every pathway is carved out. But if you do not see it with the eye of faith, you'll miss it with the eyes of flesh. The world does not teach this. The world says earn, hustle, grind, beg. But the kingdom says receive, align, become, be still, and know. The greatest wealth in the world is not in banks. It is in minds that are renewed, imaginations that are bold, and spirits that are in agreement with divine truth. You have access to more than money. You have access to miracles. And money is just the smallest expression of what God desires to pour into your life. So today, do not hesitate. Open the envelope within. Recognize the invisible deposit. Say out loud, I have received. Say it until the walls echo. Say it until your doubt shatters. Say it until the atmosphere bends to your knowing. This is not arrogance. This is obedience. God told you. You've been given a lot of money. The only question left is, will you open it, or will you walk away from what was always yours? Unlock the vault with imaginative faith. The key is within you. There is no greater lie than the one that tells you that your wealth lies outside of you. Every chosen one must come to the revelation that the vault of heaven is not accessed by hard labor, connections, or chance, but by imaginative faith. Faith is not passive belief. It is active assumption, conscious union with the unseen reality God has already provided. You are not called to earn the blessing. You are called to unlock it. And the only key that opens the vault is the conviction that what you see within is more real than what you experience without. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the divine workshop where all things are made. When God said, "Let there be," he spoke from the formless into form. That same creative power lives within you. You are not just waiting on God. You are learning to agree with him. To imagine yourself already in possession of the money you need, to feel it in your hands, to see it in your account, to walk as if it's already yours, that is what breaks the spiritual lock. Not your effort, not your background, not your family name, but your willingness to believe without evidence. Most people pray for provision while imagining lack. They speak abundance but carry the emotional vibration of poverty. They visualize for a few minutes and then spend the rest of the day worrying, doubting, and replaying their current reality. That is not faith, that is contradiction, and a divided mind cannot receive. God's promises are not fragile, they do not expire, but they remain unopened to those who refuse to align. To unlock the vault, you must choose the feeling over the facts. The facts may say your account is empty, but your imagination must declare it is overflowing. The facts may say you're underqualified, but your inner world must say, I am favored. The facts may point to delay, but your assumption must be, it is already done. When your inner world begins to dominate your outer reactions, you will see a shift so radical, it will seem as though the money appeared overnight, but in truth it appeared the moment you believed. God operates in unseen dimensions. He releases blessings in seed form, and the fertile ground of your imagination is what causes them to sprout. You are not waiting on the harvest. You are waiting on your own mind to receive the seed and let it grow. There is no shortage in heaven, the vault is bursting, the provision is ready, but the door remains shut to those who won't assume the role of the receiver. You must become wealthy in mind before you become wealthy in matter. To walk as though you already have it, to give thanks for what your eyes have not seen yet, that is the secret of all manifestation, and it is not a technique, it is a lifestyle. When you make your internal state your true reality, your external world must mirror it. It's a law, not a gamble. So what does it look like to unlock the vault? It looks like a quiet moment of stillness where you close your eyes and dare to see your life transformed. It looks like choosing to smile at the mailbox before opening it, knowing the check is already there. It looks like writing your budget as if every need is met. It looks like walking through life with such calm expectation that heaven has no choice but to respond. The world calls it delusion, God calls it faith. And without it, it is impossible to please him, not because he is cruel, but because without faith you can't recognize what he's already given. The vault isn't in the sky, it's within your mind. Every time you imagine the outcome you desire and feel it as already true, you're turning the key. Every time you persist in that assumption, even when life tries to contradict it, you're pushing the door open, and the moment you let go of the need to control the how, the vault bursts open in ways that shock even you. God did not create you to chase. He created you to command through alignment. The authority of a believer is not in begging for miracles, but in assuming their fulfillment. Jesus didn't say, hope you receive. He said, when you pray, believe that you have received, and it will be yours. That is the formula, believe that you have received. Not will receive, not might receive, have received. That's imaginative faith. That's how you move into the frequency of divine wealth. The vault unlocks when your inner man holds onto the image of victory no matter what the outer world shows. The bills come in imagined surplus. The job rejects you. Imagine better offers. The bank says no, imagine yes. Your imagination is the steering wheel of your reality. Use it with faith, and your destination will be abundance. Many believers sabotage their own blessing by canceling their assumption with fear. They imagine something good and then speak something bad. They visualize overflow and then feel dread when they check their accounts. This back and forth weakens the spiritual signal. Faith must be single-minded. You must choose the image and dwell in it like it's already fact. Speak it, praise God for it, feel gratitude now, and when fear tries to creep in, return to the vision. You are either unlocking the vault or reinforcing the lock with every thought. There is no neutral imagination. You are always creating, either by faith or by fear, so choose deliberately, choose boldly. Choose repeatedly. One of the greatest truths you must grasp is that the vault responds to identity, not effort. If you see yourself as someone who is always trying to get rich, you will continue to try. If you see yourself as one who is rich in Christ, rich in favor, rich in wisdom, rich in access, then the world bends to that identity. Identity governs reception. And imagination is the tool that transforms identity. Begin now to imagine yourself as someone who walks in constant financial peace, someone who never worries about bills, someone who funds dreams, gives freely, supports others, and lives in overflow. See that version of you. Feel how they carry themselves. Notice their peace, their joy, their confidence. That version of you already exists in the mind of God, and you bring it into your world by choosing it repeatedly. This is not about pretending. It's about possessing internally what has been declared spiritually. You are not faking it. You are awakening to it. And when you truly awaken, the need to beg disappears. You no longer try to convince yourself. It becomes your automatic default. You step into conversations about money with authority. You navigate life with unshakable calm. You no longer panic when something goes wrong financially because you know the source is within you, not around you. You understand that money is not your supply. God is. And because He is your source, your vault, your well that never runs dry, you walk with the assurance that all you need already exists and is being drawn to you in divine order. The vault responds to those who know how to imagine with trust, and trust is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When you imagine your life of abundance and trust that it's unfolding perfectly, even if nothing around you reflects it yet, you are sending a signal heaven cannot ignore. That's when doors open, not by manipulation, but by manifestation. That's when strangers bless you. That's when debts dissolve. That's when phone calls come at the perfect time, not because you forced it, but because you believed it before it happened. That is the realm God operates in. That is where miracles are born. So do not let your current situation lie to you. You are not broke. You are just being tested in your belief. You are not overlooked. You are being refined in your imagination. You are not waiting for provision. You are being invited to see it differently. The vault is yours, the key is within, and the time is now. God says you've been given a lot of money. Will you dare to see it before you spend it? Will you dare to feel it before you hold it? Will you dare to trust before you count it? If so, then you've already unlocked the vault, and what is yours by divine inheritance can no longer be withheld. Evict doubt, the silent thief of your divine inheritance. There is no force more quietly destructive to your financial destiny than doubt. It does not roar like fear, nor does it rage like panic. It whispers, it questions, it delays. Doubt is the silent thief, the one who walks in undetected and steals what was always meant to be yours. And if you are not watchful, if you do not guard the gates of your mind, you will find that you are spiritually wealthy but experientially poor, not because God has withheld from you, but because you have allowed doubt to interrupt the flow. The word says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and let not that man think he shall receive anything of the Lord. That is not a curse, that is a law, a spiritual law more exact than gravity. And if you are wondering why your prayers have not birthed visible manifestation, if you are asking why your declarations seem to fall flat, you must inspect your mind, not your God. God is faithful. God has already given. The vault of heaven has been opened. The wealth exists in fullness, but it is doubt that changes the locks after you have already received the key. Doubt doesn't always look like open disbelief. Sometimes it looks like what if it doesn't work. Sometimes it disguises itself as being realistic. Sometimes it dresses up as logic, caution, or wisdom. But any thought that challenges what God has already said is a lie, even if it sounds reasonable. God never told you to be realistic. He told you to walk by faith. He never instructed you to agree with appearances. He commanded you to hold fast the confession of your hope without wavering. Why? Because wavering turns your imagination against you. The moment you begin to imagine outcomes contrary to your desire, the moment you entertain worst-case scenarios, you have entered the realm of doubt. And in that realm, the blessing becomes invisible to you, not because it vanished, but because your vibration no longer aligns with its frequency. Imagination is neutral power. It will create according to whatever image you hold most consistently. If you imagine increase, it brings increase. If you imagine decline, it brings decline. Doubt pollutes the image. It breaks the continuity. It creates interference in the spiritual signal, so that what was on its way now gets blocked, not by God, but by your own wavering. You must begin to see doubt for what it really is, a spiritual parasite. It does not just slow your progress, it drains your power. Every moment spent in doubt is a moment spent contradicting your own prayer. Every second spent questioning whether God will do it is a second spent rewriting the ending you previously declared. You become the author of delay, not destiny. You may still be praying, but your inner man is disagreeing, and God cannot move where there is inner contradiction. To evict doubt is to take dominion over the subtle voice that says, "But what if it doesn't happen?" You must answer that voice with violence, not fear, but firm authority. It will happen because it already has happened in the realm that matters most. That is how the believer must speak. That is how you train your mind to stop rehearsing lack. If God has said that you've been given a lot of money and your inner world starts to question where it is, pause and correct it. Say, "I am not waiting on it, I am aligning with it." Doubt always asks when, but faith always declares now. Faith is always present tense. Doubt pushes it to the future where it remains forever unreachable. That is the trick of the enemy, to keep the promise in a perpetual state of delay through your own agreement with time. But when you say, "I have it now," and you truly feel that it is yours now, you collapse the timeline and manifest what once seemed distant. You must understand, doubt is not an emotion, it is a decision. It may begin as a feeling, but if you allow that feeling to take root, it becomes a decision to agree with what God never said. God never said it would be hard for you. He never said you'd have to wait for years. He never said it might not work. That was the voice of your past, of your trauma, of your surroundings, but not of your source. Your source speaks with clarity. "I have blessed you, I have provided, I have made you the head and not the tail." That is the truth, and truth has no opinion. So when doubt rises, you must cast it down. Not negotiate with it, not give it room, not wait for it to pass. You evict it because it does not belong in the house of your mind. Doubt is a squatter in your mental real estate, and it will not leave unless you demand its exit. Think of all the moments in your life when you were close to break through but let doubt delay it. The job you thought was too good to be true, the relationship you thought wouldn't last, the financial opportunity you walked away from because fear told you to play it safe. Doubt masquerades as protection, but it's actually restriction. It convinces you to play small when God has called you to think large. It tells you to wait when God is saying move. And unless you confront it boldly, it will continue to rob you. How many more blessings must you lose before you say enough? How many more promises must remain unclaimed before you decide that doubt is no longer welcome? You cannot be casual about this. If you truly want to receive what has been promised, you must go to war with doubt daily. And that war happens in the mind. It happens the moment you wake up and feel a heaviness. You must speak, "This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice in my abundance." It happens when your bank account tries to argue with your faith. You respond, "My provision comes from God, not from numbers." It happens when people tell you to be realistic. You answer, "I am not moved by sight, but by spirit." Every time you replace a doubtful thought with a bold declaration of truth, you shift the atmosphere. You may not see the change instantly, but the inner world is being rebuilt, and once that inner construction is complete, the outer form will follow. Doubt thrives in silence. It grows when you don't answer it. But when you flood your mind with the truth of God's abundance, when you meditate on the feeling of already having it, when you speak faith over your life again and again, doubt has no space to breathe. You suffocate it with truth. You starve it by refusing to feed it. You dismantle its power by seeing through its disguise. You no longer entertain questions like, "What if it doesn't happen?" Instead, you ask, "What if it does? What if everything works out better than I imagined? What if the floodgates open this very hour?" You turn your imagination from servant of fear to servant of faith. Your wealth does not require your stress. It requires your agreement. God does not respond to desperation. He responds to alignment, and alignment means your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions are all in harmony with His word. If He said you are rich, stop thinking like you're broke. If He said He'll supply all your needs, stop imagining lack. If he said he has given you the kingdom, stop begging at the door. The moment you align fully, without the inner sabotage of doubt, you unlock the manifestation. The heavens are not delaying, they are waiting for you to stop arguing with yourself. So let today be the day you draw the line. Let today be the eviction notice you serve to every doubtful thought that has lingered too long. You have the power, you have the authority, you have the promise, and most of all, you have the key, but you cannot use the key with shaky hands. You must be bold, you must be certain. You must say, I am done with doubt, I am done with questioning, I am done with delay. I receive what is mine now. And when you say it, feel it, see it, breathe it, own it. That is how you take what has always been yours. That is how you reclaim what doubt tried to steal. That is how you walk not just as a believer, but as a receiver. God already said it. The vault is already open. The money is already given. Now silence the thief and step into your divine inheritance. Live from the fulfilled state, not toward it. Become what you seek. There is a divine truth few ever come to truly understand. You do not move toward your desires. You must move from them. In the kingdom of God, you do not beg for blessings. You become the embodiment of what you have asked for. You do not chase wealth, success, favor, or miracles. They flow to you effortlessly when you have already assumed within that they are yours. Most people live life in a constant state of waiting for the breakthrough, the opportunity, the increase, the promotion. But God has not called you to wait as though your desire is separate from you. He has called you to believe, to accept, to assume the state of already having it. When you live from the fulfilled state, you are no longer a seeker, you are a possessor. You are not asking God to do something, you are thanking Him for what has already been completed in spirit. This is the law of assumption. This is the creative act of faith. This is how the chosen ones unlock their inheritance, not by striving outwardly, but by becoming inwardly what they know they are destined to receive. Every desire you hold is not a random wish. It is a seed planted by God Himself. The moment the desire is born within you, the way is also made. But if you continue to live toward it, as if it is still distant, separate, or conditional, you delay its arrival. Why? Because the vibration of wanting is different from the vibration of having. If you live every day feeling the lack of it, thinking about what you don't have, talking about how far you are from it, then you are reinforcing the distance. You are sending out a spiritual message that you are not yet ready to receive. But when you live from the state of already having what you desire, when you begin to feel the relief, the gratitude, the peace, the joy of the accomplished goal, then you align with heaven, you become the frequency of the fulfillment, and what matches that frequency must appear in your world. This is not magic, this is law. Just as a radio only receives the station it's tuned to, you can only receive the reality you are internally aligned with. To live from the fulfilled state means you start acting like it's already done. Your thoughts, emotions, language, and choices all reflect the version of you who has already received. You don't wait to celebrate when the money comes. You celebrate now, because you know it has no choice but to appear. You don't wait to dress with confidence when the job offer comes. You walk into every room like you've already been approved. You don't wait to speak generously or give freely until the breakthrough arrives. You begin now, because you are already abundant in your consciousness. This is the greatest shift a believer can make, to stop asking, how do I get there? And start declaring, I am already there. Because in spirit you are. God's promise is not coming. It has come. The moment you believed, it was yours. What you see in the physical is only a delayed reflection of what has already happened in the invisible. And if you will persist in that fulfilled feeling, the mirror of life will have no choice but to display your assumption. Let us break this down further. Suppose your desire is financial overflow, not just survival, but abundance, more than enough to bless others, to fund visions, to live in peace. Now, the average person begins from a place of wanting that. They think about how little they have, they hope for more, they pray from a place of emptiness, and every time they check their account or review their bills, they reinforce the image of lack. But the awakened believer, the one who lives from the fulfilled state, does it differently. They begin by stepping into the feeling of overflow. They imagine themselves checking their account and smiling. They feel what it's like to walk through stores without checking price tags. They see themselves giving generously to others. And they don't just visualize these moments, they live in them mentally. They carry the inner feeling of abundance through the day, and because that feeling becomes dominant, life begins to rearrange itself. Ideas flow, opportunities appear, people favor them, not because they did something, but because they became something. You always manifest what you are, not what you wish for, and herein lies the greatest misunderstanding among those who wait and never receive. They think manifestation is something God does after they prove themselves worthy or faithful enough. But in truth, manifestation is your own soul becoming convinced. Once your inner world is convinced that it is already done, your outer world must obey. The world is a mirror of your dominant assumption. So what are you assuming daily? Are you assuming it's still hard? Are you assuming money doesn't come easily? Are you assuming you always have to struggle? If so, those assumptions are what you're living from, and that's why they repeat. But if you begin to assume it's easy for me to prosper, God's favor surrounds me like a shield, I walk in continual overflow, then those new assumptions become the structure of your life. This is why you must discipline your imagination. It is not enough to think a good thought once and hope it sticks. You must live in it, return to it often, let it become your emotional home. When you imagine something so consistently that it feels more real than your current situation, you are now living from the fulfilled state. That is when miracles unfold. That is when people call out of nowhere. That is when debts are canceled and divine checks arrive and promotions come unannounced. Because your outer world is responding to your inner self-image, and your self-image has shifted from need to supply, from lack to overflow, from hope to knowing. Even Jesus demonstrated this law. Before he raised Lazarus, he didn't beg the Father. He thanked him. Father, I thank you that you have already heard me. He was living from the end result. Before the miracle, he was already in gratitude. Why? Because he understood the nature of divine law, and so must you. If you want to see wealth, stop praying from poverty. Start thanking God for what is already true in spirit. Walk through your day like you already received the deposit. Speak to your situation from authority, not anxiety, and most of all, feel the end result. Sit with it, let it grow, let it dominate. The more you feel it, the more real it becomes, and the more real it becomes, the faster it shows up in form. This is not pretending. Pretending is fake. This is embodying. This is taking what God has said and wrapping yourself in it until no circumstance can shake it loose. You are not acting like you're rich. You are awakening to the richness already within you. You are not faking faith. You are activating it, and as you remain in that state, your outer life transforms as a mirror reflects the face. This is why you must not break character. No matter what shows up in the physical, hold the fulfilled state. When the bills come, don't panic, praise. When someone questions your dream, don't defend, declare. When you feel discouraged, don't collapse, return to the vision, because the one who lives from the fulfilled state is not moved by temporary appearances. They know that appearances are old echoes of past thoughts, but the new reality is forming, and it cannot be denied if you do not deny it. So today, chosen one, the invitation is clear. Stop living as though the promise is far off. It is within you, live from it, feel it, be it, walk as if you have already received, speak as though the vault has already opened, give thanks like you just got the call, carry yourself with the peace of one who cannot lack. That is how the blessing rushes in, that is how you collapse time, that is how the invisible becomes visible, not through begging, not through striving, but through becoming. God already said it, you've been given a lot of money. It's done, now act like it, live like it, speak like it, believe like it, because when you live from the fulfilled state, you don't need to chase what's already yours, it begins chasing you. Seal the gift with gratitude and circulation. Let it flow or it stops. There is a sacred flow to divine provision, a spiritual current that never stops moving, unless you stop it. What you have been given is not only meant to be held but shared, not only meant to bless you but to flow through you. Every blessing carries a condition, not one of worthiness, but of willingness to keep it in motion. Money, like water, stagnates when it stops moving. It becomes toxic when hoarded, but life, giving when released. You must understand this spiritual principle. Gratitude opens the gates of abundance, and circulation keeps them open. Many believers pray for financial overflow, but live in a mindset of restriction. They receive in faith, but refuse to release in trust. They thank God for the harvest, but never sow back into the soil, and then they wonder why the flow dries up. God is not withholding. He is waiting for you to become a channel, not a container. Gratitude is the seal. Circulation is the system. Without both, you disrupt the divine economy that was designed to never run dry. Let us first understand the power of gratitude, not as a reaction, but as a cause. The average person gives thanks after they receive. The awakened believer, however, gives thanks before, knowing that thanksgiving is not just appreciation, but activation. When you begin to live in a constant state of gratitude for what is already yours in the spirit, you accelerate its appearance in the physical. Gratitude tunes your vibration to the frequency of answered prayer. You begin to feel as though your bank account is already full, your debts already cleared, your vision already funded, and in that emotional state of it is done, miracles begin to unfold. Gratitude says, I trust you, God, even before I see it. Gratitude says, you have already provided, and I am aligning with the finished work, and the universe responds to that tone with abundance, because it is the tone of faith, of agreement, of partnership with divine law. But gratitude alone is not enough if it is not followed by circulation. What you refuse to release, you begin to block. God does not bless the clenched fist, he blesses the open hand. You were never meant to be the final destination of your provision. You are the channel through which heaven touches earth. If you receive and hoard, you cut off the flow. If you fear losing what you've been given, you invite loss. But if you give with boldness, with joy, with expectancy, then you prove to the spiritual realm that you understand the law. Whatever leaves your hand never leaves your life. It multiplies and returns. Giving is not about money, it's about mastery. It's about showing God that money does not own you, that it does not dictate your peace or your trust. And when you can give freely, even from a place of perceived lack, you declare yourself wealthy in spirit, and the material must obey that vibration. Circulation is not limited to financial giving. It is also about energy, ideas, kindness, service, time, and vision. When you hoard your talents, you block your growth. When you refuse to speak your truth, you suppress your anointing. When you pull back your presence from fear of rejection, you limit your reach. God has not only given you the gift of money, he has given you the gift of you. And if you hide yourself, shrink yourself, or silence yourself, you are withholding from the world what only you can give. The blessing grows as it flows. The more you give, the more God trusts you with. But the one who says, let me wait until I have more, misunderstands the law you have now, and what you do with now determines the size of your next. Think of the widow in the Bible who gave her last 2 coins. She didn't wait until she had more. She gave from a place of faith, and Jesus honored her more than all the rich who gave from excess. Why? Because she circulated what she had. She trusted the flow. She sealed her gift with gratitude, knowing that her source was not the coins but the Creator. This is the posture you must live from, not waiting for financial overflow before you give, but giving into financial overflow. Not waiting to feel secure before you release, but releasing into security. God cannot pour into what you refuse to empty. If your cup is full of fear, how can he fill it with faith? If your heart is gripped by control, how can he teach you trust? Let it go, release the grip, circulate what has been placed in your hand, and watch as heaven rushes to fill it again and again. There is a deeper truth here that few grasp. The money you have is not yours. It is God's, entrusted to you for movement. You are a steward, not an owner. You are a vessel, not a vault. When you understand that the money in your life is meant to obey the law of circulation, you stop clinging to it. You begin to ask, where is this meant to flow? And in that question, you unlock the next level. Because money loves purpose, it sticks to clarity, it follows intention. When you designate it as a tool for impact, it multiplies. But when you fearfully cling to it as your only hope, it evaporates. God cannot bless the mindset of scarcity because it contradicts his nature. He is abundance, and if you are made in his image, then you must live abundantly, not recklessly, but generously, boldly, joyfully. Your giving does not diminish you, it expands you. Every time you give, you stretch the borders of your capacity to receive. Gratitude and circulation work together like breath. You inhale with thanks, and you exhale with giving. And when this rhythm becomes your lifestyle, you live in the continual flow of divine provision. You don't panic over bills. You don't beg for miracles. You don't manipulate people. You walk in peace, knowing that you are part of an unbreakable system of increase. The same way the sun rises each morning, the same way the tide returns to shore, so too will your provision come back multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, running over, not because you earned it, but because you trusted the design. You aligned with the law. You proved that you are ready not just to receive, but to release. And let us be clear, releasing is not just about money leaving your hand. It is also about releasing limiting beliefs, old stories, scarcity thinking, and the emotional blockages that say, I don't deserve this, or there's never enough, or it's too late for me. All of those are spiritual clogs in the pipeline of provision. If you do not release them, no amount of giving will fix your flow. You must do the inner work. You must replace those false beliefs with divine truth. Say daily, I am connected to unlimited supply. I am trusted by God to circulate wealth wisely. I am a magnet for increase and a distributor of divine resources. When these truths become the dominant voice in your consciousness, the gates swing wide open. And never forget, gratitude multiplies what you magnify. If you thank God for the little, it becomes much. If you notice the increase, it expands. If you speak of what is working, more begins to work. But if you constantly complain about what's missing, you starve the flow. Your words are seeds, your attention is fuel, your expectation is the frequency that draws your future into the present. Gratitude is not optional, it is the language of faith. Circulation is not just an act, it is a declaration, I know I will never run out. And when you live from that place, you not only receive divine money, you receive divine confidence, peace, joy, purpose. The wealth you've been given is bigger than digits. It is a way of being. So, chosen one, hear this clearly. You have already been given a lot of money. But how you hold it determines what happens next. Will you clutch it with fear or release it with faith? Will you wait for more before you give thanks, or will you give thanks now and make room for more? Will you become a dam or a river? God is not looking for containers. He is looking for conduits. He wants to know if he can trust you with the weight of wealth, not just for you, but for the kingdom. And that trust is proven in your ability to seal the gift with gratitude and keep the flow alive with circulation. Today, begin this flow. Look at what you have, no matter how small, and give thanks like it's a fortune. Bless it. Speak life over it. Imagine it multiplying. Then ask, where can this flow? Sow into good ground, bless someone, invest in your vision, give not from pressure, but from revelation, and as you do, feel the spiritual pipes unclog. Feel the river swell, watch as opportunities find you, as checks come in unexpected ways, as ideas turn to income, as doors open before you knock. This is your new reality, not because God is finally moving, but because you are finally aligned. The gift is given, the flow is real, gratitude seals it. Circulation sustains it. Now live in the rhythm, and watch abundance become your normal.